Muhammad for Tanjong Batu.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to participate in the debate of the Supply Bill 2017-2016, which was delivered in this August House on the 21st of November 2016. Mr. Speaker, it has been about 40 years since the modern Bintulu took off with its development. Of course, today's Bintulu is completely different from its yesteryears. The old town area has spread out much to several major commercial centres like the Park City Commercial Centre, Meranjaya Commercial Centre, etc., for the past near 40 years. It can be said that the development of Bintulu has very much been on this side, the east side of the Kamina River. These two sides are only connected by a bridge at the southern end of the Bintulu town and the bridge over the Kamina River on the Bintulu-Tatau road leading to the Bintulu airport. We need a second bridge over the Kamina River on the northern end of the Bintulu town, and I believe that this will bring in the much-needed development in the West Bank. It will cut short the distance of going from east to the west side of the Bintulu town, facilitating all the necessities for development in terms of goods, transport, services, and others. And it is a must connection for the coastal highway, thus making the coastal highway complete, especially now that money has been allocated to finish the Kuala Surupai, Kuala Tatau at the bridge at the Kuala Tatau in our 2017 budget. Now, the people of Bintulu hope that the bridge will be built, and I urge that the government make it a priority in the next 40 years of development, and perhaps in the future we even can shoot some fireworks off the bridge on our festive celebrations. Mr. Speaker, while it is rightly so that compensation has been made by the major contractor to the landowners and other entities on the construction of the Pan-Borneo Highway, I have received complaints from some landowners who are unhappy with this compensation. Take, for example, a landowner from Rumah Sam, kilometer 25 of the Jalan Bintulu Tatau Road. The landowner there, Mr. Dana Regu, he's very unhappy when he was paid only 35,000 ringgit for all his fruit trees, farmhouse, and everything else on it. He had planted over 200 number of palm oil trees, 65 rubber trees, 30 banana trees, 28 langsat trees, 35 cempedak, 10 rambutan, 50 number of durians, and the list go on and on. Altogether, 27 different types of fruit trees, and planted a total of 547 in numbers. Mr. Speaker, these alone is enough to be paid more than 35,000 ringgit. In fact, if the fruit trees were not cut down and be allowed to live their full life, the landowner would be untong, always have a steady income for the rest of his life and his family too. So the fruit tree is his lifeline, and now that is cut off, the landowner is not happy with the little compensation. What is worse is the calculation for the payment of the fruit trees, he said. It is not specific, like which tree is paid how much. Instead, a lump sum is paid, and the rest are called line, paid off like that. Now, this shows the attitude of the valuation people, as if this paying compensation to these people is not important. That's not right. And what about the farmhouse? Not all farmhouses are langkau. You know, Mr. Dana's farmhouse is not a langkau. It measures 20 feet by 20 feet, and the walls are all made out of 6-inch by 1-inch planks overlapping one another for the whole 4 sides of the house. The floor, the roof, plus other items. The house itself would have cost already the sum of the compensation paid. And I understand that even the land is longhouse land. Another thing is that, Mr. Speaker, there is the SESCO meter. Now, if your building is within the Pan-Borneo Highway construction site, yes, we have to move, and yes, the building is compensated, but what about the SESCO meter? Moving the meter could cost up to 10,000 ringgit, and if a post is needed, it's even more. So that cannot be included in the compensation of the building or land. These are separate things. Mr. Speaker, Longhouse folks also living along the near the Pan-Borneo Trunk Road, many have planted fruit trees, and others near the front of the longhouses for decades. These trees should be compensated also. They know that it's on state land, but it is their tree. It's their belonging, their life, and their property, and thus they should be compensated too. Mr. Speaker, there's a cemetery for the native people at mile 2.5 Jalan Bintulu, Jalan Sultan Iskandar in Bintulu. It is sort of a small hill slope descending into lower land below. It's not a big cemetery, maybe about less than 10 acres in total. The slope and the lower land area all together about 10 acres. And as the land on the slope of the cemetery is occupied, the dead are buried into the lower land area. Now, this is not very good, as the lower land area can get flooded and always wet. I therefore urge that the authority to look into this, perhaps to provide a better drainage system or to fill up the place higher or something to be done to it. Mr. Speaker, I had on the 31st of May 2016, I submitted the feedback to Tali Hikmat to request to replace just the cover to an underground service duct at the bus stop in front of the Methodist Meng Ong Kindergarten, Jalan Sultan Iskandar. When the work requested was not done for so long, I submitted another request on this 12th of August 2016. But up to this day, the cover has not been replaced. Mr. Speaker, this is not just a request for service from me. It is the request of people. And I have known that Mr. Ting actually stepped into the hole and hurt himself. Lucky that he was not seriously hurt. He could have died had he fallen into the hole or knocked his head on the edge of the hole and it was nighttime. The hole is big. I mean, big enough for an adult to fall through, and it's over 6 feet deep. I have checked on the status of the progress of the works on the Tali Hikmat website, and the reply by Telecom is that sukacita dimaklumkan bahawa kes aduan ini telah disegerakan. Mohon untuk tutup kes ini. The status on the Tali Hikmat website said the case is solved. Mr. Speaker, it is not solved. The hole is still there. How could it be like that? As this kind of misinformation would only taint the credibility of Tali Hikmat. Now, could the minister in charge please look into this matter, and what kind of a mechanism does the government have to ensure that feedback submitted by the people are taken seriously by the ministry involved? For it is not just about this hole, it is about the whole attitude of the telecom service. Yes, we all know of the policy of telecom in waiting, always in waiting until enough people live in a certain place before they could consider pulling in an internet line or telephone line. They always tell us that, and we can't do much because we cannot see. But for this whole cover, we see it. So the whole issue here is about, even if it is not seen, the whole issue is about integrity of the whole ministry concerned in carrying out their duties to serve the people, even there are some that we don't see. Mr. Speaker, 105 families of Taman Desa Damai, Jalan Chiew, Bintulu had petitioned to MCMC office in Kuching via letter dated 28th of February 2016, voicing out their concern and their objection to the erection of the telecommunication tower by Sakova in the housing estates. They are concerned that the tower being built is too close to their house, beaming, transmitting waves 24 hours a day, which could be harmful to their health, especially the children and elderly. The same thing also with the residents living near Taman King San, Jalan Kampung Baru, where a transmitting tower is built in the compound of the house number 780, and then now another tower coming up in the house compound at the residential estate next to the Meng Ong Methodist Church, Jalan Sultan Iskandar Bintulu. How can the transmitting tower be built in the house compound, Mr. Speaker? The petition letter in the first case was never replied by MCMC, and even up to this day, and the tower now is up, and the transmitting discs are fixed, and maybe start transmission already. I urge the MCMC to go to the ground and hear these people out, as they are rightfully concerned and must be heard. Just imagine if a tower is built in front of your house, how would you feel? Thus, consultation with the people within the vicinity is important, as it affects their daily life and their and their emotions. And I'm sure that there are other alternatives which can be used, and that will be acceptable to all. I mention this because this is not just happening at Taman Desa Damai, but also many places in Bintulu, like in Kuching also, Sibu, Miri, Sakofa towers growing up quietly in our backyard. Mr. Speaker, I urge the junction at Taman Matahari. I urge the authority concerned to look into the traffic at the new road from Taman Matahari to Kidurong Industrial Estate at the CMS cement factory. The traffic is just moving too fast, easily up to 100 kilometers an hour on a state road, which where one is supposed to travel only 60 kilometers, Mr. Speaker. What is also dangerous is that the junction going into the Taman Matahari near the Bintulu Port Special Road at the entrance there, as the road coming down from Kidurong is split from a single lane into 2 lanes at the junction. Now the right turn stops line which is in the middle of the road, and it's causing great fear to many that they might get hit right into the body by the oncoming car. I urge the authority to look into this and make the junction and the road there safe for everyone to use. Goods display at 5 footway and others, Mr. Speaker, the matter of the shops displaying goods and sundries a little bit outside of the shop doors had always been an issue between the local authority and the shop business owners. Sometimes the shop business owners are allowed to display a little bit outside, a foot or 2, and then the other times they are totally not allowed, not even 1 inch. Last 2 weeks at the Bintulu shop business, people, they are faced with the not 1 inch order again. So everything has to be moved inside the shop. And the shop business people are very unhappy, especially when business are bad these days, and it's not easy to attract people passing by just to buy even 1 item, as everything is put inside. We all know that the way business people putting a few of their merchandise outside is in fact a marketing tactic being practiced by Asian businessmen even before the marketing books were written. It also brings out life and color to the commercial area. We all know also that this should not be overdone, but a certain flexibility and tolerance is acceptable to help business to go through the difficult times and also hopefully to be able to make some money. The shop owners had requested that a 2 feet space in front of the shop for the width of the shop be allowed for them to display some of the goods and sundries. When we are business friendly and when they make the money, businessmen make the money and pay their assessment taxes and other taxes, they give money for us to run our country. I would like to also appeal, Mr. Speaker, for those up and coming entrepreneurs who are trying to do some business selling burgers, barbecue chicken, spare ribs, etc., or selling some homemade cakes and whatnot. They sell in the evening, sometimes at parking lot or places where there is a crowd, like the commercial centers. Some sell along the roadside in kampongs. They do all this in the hope that they can make some extra money for their families. And we know that things are so expensive these days and the cost of living is high. And there is always not enough money. A salary of a few thousand ringgit is really not enough, and children are waiting to be fed. Now, these people are willing to work and try to learn the trade of doing business, and we should let them, remembering that so many of us had come from these simple ways also. We should help these people, and of course we know that it is against the local government, local authorities, bylaws to operate such business like that. Neatness and tidiness are important, but so long as they do not interfere with the traffic flow or hygiene, I think we can tolerate with them for the time being, while we can then plan for a way to solve this kind of problem, to accommodate them, to get them to proper business, to the proper business way.
Member for Tanjong Batu, can you wind up 1 minute?
1 minute. Mr. Speaker, these folks of Rumah Sengo'o, they have been living at the Binyu area for a long time, and there is plan now to turn the Bukit Sarang and Binju Pengilam area into a national park. And the folks of Rumah Sengok, they have no objection over the creation of national park. They would rather be that their NCR land be excluded from the park so that they can keep their land for their Longhouse Committee and living side by side with the national park. Another one is, Mr. Speaker, is the overhead bridge at SMK Banda in in Bintulu at the Jalan Tun Hussein On, which is really congested because opposite the SMK Banda school, there are two gas stations, one McDonald's there, and when the school gets out, the traffic there is just messy, and trucks and lorries going up and down the Mili Bintulu Road. And I think, Mr. Speaker, so it is very important that, and for the safety of the students there and the safety of the road user, I think an overhead bridge is important to be built for the student to cross safely across the Tun Hussein On Road during the times when they get off to school. And I hope that the ministry will look into this and build that overhead bridge crossing that Tun Hussein Road at SMK Banda. And that's all, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much.
Yang Berhormat from Serembu.